Greetings, friends, and welcome to a very special hot summer episode of the Grog Pod Roguelike podcast, wherein normally each one of these episodes we talk about a roguelike or roguelite game. We throw some made-up number rankings on them and revisit them at the end of the season for all the good ones. But this is a special one. This is a special music episode that you have joined us with. I am your chiptune DJ host of the podcast, Scott Berger, and with me are my major scale co-hosts.
Hey, it's me, Andrew, the Piano Man, Harshman, coming at you.
And me, Colin, the static note that they use for drums, Smith.
I love that note.
Well, this very special episode is the one where I give my co-hosts a break from me cracking the whip and forcing them to play games they hate every week, to stop and listen to games they may or may not like every week. We are going over some soundtrack tunes from roguedom, from really old to really new, and the one that is playing us in for our intro here is a previous episode. We covered the PlayStation 1 version of this game, which is Azure Dreams, specifically the 1997 Game Boy Color version of Azure Dreams, and this is the title screen soundtrack, composed by, I'm pretty sure, the same guy who did the PlayStation 1 soundtrack. I'm going to butcher all the artist names here, which is why everyone tunes in the first place. Composed by Hiroshi Tamawiri for the 1997 Game Boy Color Azure Dreams. I think based on our previous episode of the PlayStation 1, I've played a little bit of the Game Boy Color version. What's the immediate reaction here from the rest of the pod crew?
Well, just like the gameplay of Azure Dreams, the music immediately brings to mind Pokemon Red and Blue, and I had to check to see like when what got released, and not suggesting necessarily that one influenced the other per se, but it definitely sounds like the type of music I'd like to be listening to, like to be hearing when I hop on my trusty bike and I'm running around pedaling around town.
Yeah. I would say I like the music better than I liked the game. I think it was a pretty solid intro music. It's always interesting to remember that, like, despite the fact that video games weren't super advanced then, people were just as good at composing music. Like, people have not dramatically increased their ability to, like, think of new songs. So, like, you got all the background tracks. I mean, you can make some pretty good music with some pretty limited technology.
Yeah, and from what little I've dabbled with the Game Boy Color ROM for Azure Dreams, like, it's actually like a pretty halfway decent Game Boy Color game. Like, it's clearly, well, I don't know. I mean, I've gone back and played Pokemon Red. I think Azure Dreams Game Boy Color is definitely worth checking out if you're remotely interested in like those really old grindy Pokemon games. I think it would surprise you. I think it weirdly fixes a lot of the criticisms that we have for the PlayStation 1.
Wait, did the Game Boy one come after the PlayStation 1?
I think it did. I think it was like the year
Yes.
after or something.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I forget, like, the Game Boy does not neatly slot within generations. It's like, oh, Game Boy Color is in a nebulous time period.
Right?
Who knows when it existed?
Yeah, tough to say for sure. And then like the Game Boy Advance, that came along at some point. Who knows? Who can keep track of all this wild Game Boy technology?
Well, speaking of Game Boy technology, we got a packed agenda here, so I'm gonna move us right along into our next non-color 1991 Game Boy game. I believe this is Stage 3 from the Game Boy game Cave Noire. You're listening to Cave Noir. I believe that I said.
Is that the name of the radio station?
You're listening to Cave Noir.
Yeah.
Grog. This is.
Hey, AVE, Cave Noir.
I said this was soundtrack number 3. I think this is actually the soundtrack to Quest number 1 from Cave Noir, composed by Shinji Takasaka and Yoshiyuki Hagiwara for the 1991 Game Boy, non-Game Boy Color. And this comes from a Japanese-only release game, Cave Noir. Again, another traditional roguelike for the Game Boy that I'm sure tens of people have heard and played. But there actually is an English translation ROM that exists out there. So of course I was like, well, I gotta check this out after seeing some streamers play it. Downloaded the ROM, and it's actually like more interesting than you think it would be. Soundtrack reaction?
Impossible.
1991. Holy smoke! That is that's an oldie. That's less than what Rogue came out according to my sources. 1980. So I mean, almost made it into that first decade of roguedom.
Good music, though.
Really appreciate. I assume it takes place in a cave. Surely it takes place in a cave.
It does look like it takes place.
Very quickly into the track. There's the series of like descending notes, which like really brings to mind the echo that one might hear, of course, as you're traversing the cave. Honestly, I mean, maybe I'm just being subconsciously influenced by the name of the game, but it feels like it's like pitch perfect, no pun intended, for the theme and setting an atmosphere. I was digging it, because then at the end of those series of descending notes, there was then like a nice little like flourish of those same notes, which got me like ready to yeah exactly, to be spelunking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game is really good for like a coffee break session of like, and again, like weirdly like super good on the Steam Deck. Like you get this going on the Steam Deck, it's like, oh, you're reliving those Game Boy days super well. Where like you have, so this is like one of the dungeons of the game. There's 4 dungeons, and they all start off like comically easy, like kill one monster or like collect one. They call them orbs. They just look like trophies or something.
Orbs. Ooh.
But as you like complete that quest, it has this hilarious like little animation of the character like ascending up, and like it has so much like hilarious charm to it for a 1991 traditional roguelike game for the Game Boy. That like, wow, yeah, there's just like a lot of charm and cuteness to it. But also, like, as you get further into these quests, they become like a lot more like crunchy puzzles to them. So like one of them is like collect one orb. Oh, that's like super easy. This game's for babies. Then you get to like collect like 6 orbs, and you have 8 inventory slots. The orbs like take up your inventory slots, and this is just like one of the dungeons. So anyway, definitely worth hunting down where that English ROM exists through whatever legal channels you have to do so. And I had a note here for other Game Boy roguelikes to check out. There's one called Powder by Jeff Late, which is it's an open source. I guess like there's a version of it that you can like download and play on like a Game Boy ROM flash cart. And I had a joke segment planned here of like, all right, next we're gonna play the soundtrack for that one and just have it be like 3 minutes of dead air because there's no music to it. But like I think that also kind of underscores that like these games from like 1997, 91 and the next couple ones have like really solid like music and theme to them that like some of these older 90s traditional roguelikes just for whatever reason just totally spaced on having. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of showcase that like, yes, the 90s roguelikes did have music and art and stuff to them. Anything we want to say more about Game Boy games before jumping systems here?
Well, fun fact about Cave Noir, the Japanese name for Cave Noir is Cave Noir. It's just Cave Noir.
Outstanding. What a title. What a title. Incredible.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any like trench coat wearing like Cold War spy isms going on in it, but yeah, there's definitely caves. There's multi-tile monsters. There's hidden passageways. It feels really good to play, which is like very deceptive. So anyway, um, while moving systems from the Game Boy to the Sega Genesis, we're gonna take you to the section of the Library of Congress that's just called the 90s. And this is the track Toejam Jammin' from Toejam and Earl. You're listening to Toejam Jammin' from the 1991 Sega Genesis game Toejam and Earl. And boy, does this bring me back to memories of going to Blockbuster Video and looking on the back of the box and saying, a game that's random every time you play it? Why would anyone ever want to play something like that? That doesn't make any sense. Did either of you guys play any Toejam and Earl growing up?
Hey, look, I'm not afraid to admit when my knowledge, when I'm insufficient in a particular realm of information. So you know, I'm not ashamed to ask, what the hell is Toejam and Earl? I've been hearing this name through practically my whole life. I remember I was at PAX one year, and a group of my friends were very excited. Yo, they're remastering Toejam and Earl. I was like, no idea. So yeah, please illuminate us.
We were a Nintendo household, so.
Oh dear. I mean, I was a multi-console household, little rich boy here growing up. But Toejam and Earl, I believe, I'm willing to go so far as to say this is the first roguelite in that it is a real-time two-player co-op. How do you even describe this?
It better be two-player with a name, you know, like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is like a horizontal split-screen like game of the titular Toejam and Earl, two space aliens who have from the planet Funkotron, who have crash landed on Earth, and their spaceship is broken apart. And you gotta traverse these procedurally generated weird levels that are presumably Earth ? Hunting around for your spaceship parts and avoiding weird cherubs with like pitchforks and like human tourists and things, and you're like hiding in bushes, and you're getting like birthday presents and water floaties and all the kind of standard trappings that you would find in a two-player
and is there a time limit?
I don't think there's a time limit. I believe there's a hunger clock, an explicit hunger clock, in that your aliens will get hungry and I think suffer damage.
As you're describing this, so much of what you're describing is in fact addressed and explained on the cover that I'm looking at. Earl is chowing down on a hot dog. Toejam, who is wearing a medallion that says TJ, has a little speech bubble that says Jammin. So I mean, it makes sense they'd be jamming because they're from Funkotron or whatever. Interesting.
It does have the TJ on there. I was like, how could you tell which one is which?
Right. Yeah. It's so like, gives you the information. You look at it, you go, which one's Toejam? Okay, there, boom. And there's Earl, and what a deal. Interesting. And well, it sounds like it sounds like there's a very good reason for it to be randomized because you're searching for objects, but the actual location of those objects is going to be different every time you play it, and it is cooperative, so that's kind of that's a fun concept.
Yeah, it is a very weird game in retro. Like, it feels like at the time it just kind of came out of left field, where it's like, what the hell?
It's coming out of left field. It came out of left field to me in 2015 when I was at PAX and hadn't heard of it before. That was the first time I heard about it, and I haven't stopped hearing about it since. Outstanding. But what do we think of the music? I think this is like quintessential Genesis sound. It's crunchy. It's thrashy. It's got that kind of raw element to it, and I think it's really good. It's a shame that Will's not here because I think he would be really enjoying that bass line.
Oh my god, the bass is so good.
It reminds me of SimCity 1 and some of the weird old Mac games or stuff. It reminds me of my friends' houses and how cool it was to play other people's video games. I mean, did you have that when you were a kid and you're just like, I just want to go to your house and play your games. I don't actually want to play with you. I just want to play Toejam and Earl on your console.
That's the only reason why I had friends growing up.
There you have it. But beyond just the desire to play video games and them not being super accessible as a kid, you're so right, Colin, in that they were distinctly your games at your house, like a different environment. And not only was the console different looking, not only was the controller physically different, but the games, of course, looked different and sounded different.
Exotic.
As we're discussing. Very exotic. Yeah, these types of notes you were not hearing out of a SNES.
No.
Well, we'll hear something like that here in a minute, but yeah, I think there's I always think there's this hotly contested debate between Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis music, and they each have their pros and cons. I don't know why I feel more drawn to the Sega Genesis tunes of Streets of Rage, or no one's ever heard of this game before, but Granada, which I believe the composer for that game also went on to do all the composing for the Dark Souls series. So weirdly enough,
fine pedigree.
Yeah. But yeah, let's move on to another somehow another 1990s Sega Genesis traditional roguelike game, if you can believe it. This one comes to us from a year earlier. This is Fatal Labyrinth, floors 1 through 9. Labyrinth, floors 1 through 9, composed by Fugu for the 1990 Sega Genesis. And I think in comparing this one to Toejam and Earl, so I guess maybe, I don't know, Fatal Labyrinth I think has a lot of nostalgia factor for. I always see people posting online oh my god, I loved playing this game growing up on the Sega Genesis, and me checking it out on a ROM somewhere, all right, let's give it a shot. And I think the soundtrack, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pretty groovin'. And then I'm like, wow, it just kept going, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's got a great bass line.
Yeah.
I don't know if they like it's a really good bass line, and it just kind of keeps going. And you're like, that's cool. I feel like they could have thrown in like a twist here or there, except not just the dun
ding. Yeah. And it's, like, especially this being I was kind of looking at the Zoom chat here and waiting to see who would tap out first. Of like, it's a little repetitive, and I don't know if I could really stand nine dungeon floors of this in a row. But for whatever reason, when I was playing it, like, I would like quit the game, and then it would just like be playing in my head the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, I think it's better background video game music than it is just easy listening music.
Yeah.
Imagine getting into an elevator and hearing that. Look, here, I'm here to say Fatal Labyrinth, that's like a very intense sounding name. And I was expecting like a really gritty, brutal situation. I looked up some gameplay footage while we were listening. This music is way too upbeat. It's way too groovy. I feel like it does not match tonally at all. And I thought, well, let me get a better sense of what the tone of this game is. Let me see what the game over screen is. And I'm listening to this and as Google Images loads, and the game over screen is all the mourning villagers all gathered around your grave. With a big game over. And presumably there's different music for the game over screen, I would hope.
Yeah, I have not gotten to the game over screen, largely because this is one of those games that I save scum the crap out of, because it has all of your favorite things about traditional roguelikes, in that there are hidden traps, extremely tedious enemies that put you to sleep for multiple turns and just like do like nonstop damage to you, and like other like really tedious slow gameplay to it, compared to something like our Lord and Savior Cave Noir. But I think that like I could see that, like, if you grew up playing this game, yeah, the game over screen looks so morose. Like this game has like a very interesting like opening to it, of like oh, like you're leaving the town going into the dungeon kind of thing, but it's so slow, and like, I don't know. Again, like, if it was 1990 me, if it was 3-year-old me playing this game, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is the greatest thing I've ever played. And like, especially if it's like the only game you have. Weirdly enough, this game was also, I think, like a shared asset / development with another, if you can believe, a third Sega traditional roguelike game called Dragon Crystal, that is like, for all intents and purposes, like the same game. I think Dragon Crystal, from what I dabbled with it, plays better, but I don't know that the soundtrack is maybe as
dun 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 dun.
Maybe it doesn't have as ripping of a bass line, but yeah, I think Fatal Labyrinth, it definitely, I don't know, there's something about it that kept me coming back just to see like, oh, there's got to be something more to this. And each time that I went back to it, I'm like, okay, I could see, like, I'll just say thank God for save states. That's all I'll say on that front. Well, we depart the Sega Genesis and the 90s. Well, actually, no. We're gonna come back to the 90s here in a little bit. But we're gonna depart the Sega Genesis and come to our next game here, which is from the 2018 game Tangledeep. This is Mysteries of Time. You're listening to Mysteries of Time, the 2018 soundtrack to the game, the traditional roguelike, again, Tangledeep. And this is one where when someone in the YouTube comments, one of our frequent commenters, and I'm going to, again, butcher this because that's the name of the game, Ray pointed out that one OC remixer named Zircon did the music for this game, as well as another traditional roguelike game, Dungeon Mans. I leapt out of my chair because I was like, what? Do either of you have any experience with OC Remix before?
Mm-mm.
I don't know, but hopefully I'm going to be soon.
Wow. Okay. For a long time, I had 2 tracks by Zircon on my bike workout playlist. One of them was a remix from Streets of Rage 2 called Above Reason, and then the other one was a remix from TMNT 4 called Wastewater Wipeout. Both like S plus tier. I don't know if, do you call this chiptune remixing? Just like top tier music. And when you look at who else is contributing on this soundtrack, so this is a game that was developed and published by one Zircon, Andrew Aversa, who was an OC remix.
Wait, so Zircon is the composer?
Yes, Zircon
and
is
also the maker of the game?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And this is Tangledeep, I think, is a game that has mild to mixed reactions about gameplay and just all that kind of stuff, but looks and sounds amazing for a traditional.
Yeah, I was watching on my, I was also watching a gameplay video of it while we were listening, and it's got good sprites.
Yeah, really good. If you if I hadn't said anything and you were listening to this and you're like, this sounds a lot like Secret of Mana, then you might be right, because some of the other composers, contributors to this soundtrack include one, the pronunciations, Hiroki Kikuta from Secret of Mana, one Grant Kirkhope, you might recognize from GoldenEye, and one Nohuriko Hibino, who helped contribute to the Metal Gear Solid 2 soundtrack, along with Harry Gregson Williams.
Wowee.
Kind of an all-star cast for this soundtrack that you just be like, what is this kind of traditional roguelike game on Steam, and just scroll right past it, and then not having the opportunity to kind of take in the wonderful art production of this game. It reminds me a lot of the soundtrack from Shovel Knight, who was also a big OC remix person, Jake Kaufman, also known as Vert. But yeah, I think that so far, my DJ playlist has been there's some really good music and production value to traditional roguelikes that maybe we'll get to at some point. But yeah, I think had our commenter on YouTube not pointed out that hey, by the way, this guy did the soundtrack for it, I would have been like, what? So I'm glad. So thank you again, Ray, for
Ray. What a scholarly, gentle person. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Holy moly, how many amazing composers does one game need? Apparently quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they say less is more, but I think in this case it helps having some absolute titans of video game music to help you out with your soundtrack. And it's almost like, he didn't even really need the help to begin with, because a lot of his other remix stuff is so good, but I think it comes across as
well, yeah, clearly, he's got the clout to call in some favors from some serious business big hitters.
All right, well,
yeah. A lot of good transitions. I feel like it every time you thought it was done, it switched to a different instrument. It's good.
Indeed, and that's always appreciated for long form video game soundtrack stuff. If you're gonna be hearing it for a long time, there better be some variety, or that core melody better be really good. And in this case, kind of both are true.
Yeah, and this makes me feel like this is the good part of Super Nintendo music, where again, I don't know, it's a me problem, but there's some parts of Super Nintendo music that sound very muddy and just kind of I don't know, mushy. But this Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, another top tier Super Nintendo soundtrack. This one feels if this game had released back then, like again, slam dunk cultural phenomenon, like landing right in with there. So I think that like yeah, this game for Tangledeep is definitely worth checking out. I think just from the soundtrack and production value and art assets alone, almost. Well, with that, another game that has lots of really good art assets to it is our next entry here. This one is Angels from the game Moonring. You're listening to the track Angels for the 2023 game Moonring. Initially a solo dev effort by one Dean Carter, who you might remember as the co-creator of the Fable series, who made Moonring, and I believe over time has brought in a small development studio to build this game that I think kind of skirts the line between something either like a traditional roguelike or an Ultima-like. Where the game has so Moonring is like a static overworld map, but procedural dungeons, and when you die, your whole progress doesn't reset. You're just sent to the top of the dungeon, which a feature that I think I can kind of appreciate from some traditional roguelike games that go super long and super deep. That I think could probably take some notes for. But
oh, you can appreciate it. It sounds like some wussy shit to me. No, that sounds like a very practical, quality of life sort of situation, more than a quality of life situation. Golly, what a frankly kind of dour soundtrack.
Yeah, this one I think is very interesting because this game has like this very like unnerving tone to it of like, oh, like I can't wait to go. It has that same vibe of like the Nicolas Cage B movie where like everything on the perfect island is not as it seems kind of deal. And on this land that your dreamless protagonist lives on. There are these 5 gods that kind of rule the land, and this is the soundtrack for one of the gods' temples, the Blind Angels. So this is the background music as you're going through their temple, and you curry favor with the gods to gain more powers and go through more dungeons and stuff. But maybe what if you wanted to rebel against those gods?
Well, you'd obviously need the Moonring.
Yeah, exactly, and what if you said, well, this is all well and good, but this isn't a roguelike. This is an Ultima-like. Why even include it in this podcast? Well, gentle listener of discriminating taste, there is a new whopping $5 dungeon for this free-to-play solo asterisk dev game that is a 100-floor traditional roguelike dungeon that they put in, which I think is a neat touch. That's like, oh, you want your traditional roguelike? Bam, here you go. Quit complaining. But
nice.
I think also serves as a nice donation mechanism to the developer of like, thanks for putting this thing out for
free game.
Yeah. But like Moonring, I think is great because like it has, again, another game that's like really high production value for like these super ancient design criteria of traditional roguelike games. And like Moonring actually makes me really mad that like of how good its like text interface is, and just like the UI in general. Like it's very like almost kind of like 1970s like vomit level of like color spasm going on, but like the UI is so good in this game, and it like the art style is so strong. And like in Cogmind, one of our top rated games for 2/3 of us, it like you do a lot of typing in that game, you do a lot of typing in this game, but there's so much care put into how you type with like a controller, and like instead of typing in like each individual word, you can just kind of like cycle through a word cloud of keywords. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like a genius way to kind of do this kind of text interface stuff. So I absolutely had to shout out like the wonderful care of joypad, gamepad support that Moonring has gone well out of its way to put in. Yeah.
Also, apparently Moonring 2 is coming out.
That's right. Yeah, there's a sequel to it coming out, which
and by coming out, I mean it's in very early development as of March. So
right.
Coming out in the nebulous future.
It has, been announced. Very good, very good. Yeah, Moonring 2, The Ringening. Moonring 2, I mean, presumably Electric Boogaloo, one would hope.
Moonring Rain.
Oh yeah, Moonring Rain. It's got a nice ring. Never mind. Anyway, very good.
Well, taking us, I guess, maybe back to the 90s, question mark, for, I believe, I guess we have one more traditional roguelike game after this one. They're not all traditional roguelikes tonight, but there's surprisingly a lot of them. This next one is the outro song to Unreal World. That is the very powerful outro song to the 1992 traditional roguelike game Unreal World, which I believe has the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest continually updated game, period, let alone within roguedom. I'm pretty sure it is like a game that has been continuously updated since 1992. And you might say like, oh, well, what about NetHack or blah, blah, blah. Not counting like forks, like software forks or anything like that. I think it is like the same potential code base. And this is the wild soundtrack to it as you exit the game, which and I believe this is a Cree proverb, but translated into Finnish, with the developers doing all of the music and shouting in it. The lyrics going at, and I'm sure many people have heard this, but it's the lyrics of, only when the last tree is felled, only after the last river is poisoned, only when the last fish is caught, only then will they realize that you can't eat money. And then shout green, scream girl, shout boy, son, and then just shout. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
This
was
is
that
wait,
was
in
sick.
Finnish, you said?
Infant, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, sign me up. I'm gonna be in that folk metal pit as soon as they add, some electric guitars and immediately. Yeah, of course, it's Finnish. Very,
Mm.
very familiar type of uh, type of vocals to me, having consumed a lot of Finnish folk metal, and that boing sound.
The old
Doing,
mouth harp.
doing, doing.
That is an iconic sound. I believe that's being produced by. I had to do a little bit of research to confirm, by a jaw harp, which is like
Yeah.
this little piece of metal that you hold in your mouth, and you
Were
kind
you
of
also reading the Wikipedia about
lick
it?
the end, doing, 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 and ooh, love that. That's a wonderful little touch to put in the background. Is that mentioned in the Wikipedia article? I was
Uh,
doing like ridiculous sound, like Google searches, like the instrument that makes the boing noise.
oh, you didn't just know. It's also known as the Jews harp, which is weird because it's not actually associated with Jews in any way. It's just like a mishearing of jaw.
Jaw, I see.
Yeah, jaw
You
harp.
play it with your jaw. Now I'd
Yeah, you put it in
heard the
your mouth
term
and you like twang it.
the twang, the jaw twang. Previously, I'd heard the term jaw harp and literally assumed that it was made from the jaw of an animal. I'm like, just because I had that folk metal Viking aesthetic in my brain.
Apparently, it's
Yeah,
like
good stuff.
4,000 years old.
We
It's
we
like one
love
of the
that.
oldest instruments.
Doing,
It's one of the
doing.
oldest instruments,
Yeah,
and this is one of the oldest in production games. So very fitting,
perfect.
very fitting.
It probably developed around the same time as the jaw harp.
So far, this is the first track that we've play all the way through. Now, part of that is because
Yeah.
it's short, but it was engaging enough for us to listen to the whole dang thing.
No,
What
I was
the
ready to cut
hell
it
is
off, but then it
happening?
was so close to being done.
Oh, sure. What is going on in this thumbnail here? We've got what appears to be an actual photograph that's been like bit crunched a little bit of
I think that's
two
like an actual
men.
screenshot of the game.
The game itself is like this, like, even by traditional roguelike standards, is very weird. Where it's
Baffling
like
mix.
it's like a top down, like a lot of traditional roguelike games have like a vision cone that's like circular around the player. This one is like the screen is cut like in 90-degree chunks because of like your vision is like 90 degrees only forward. It's very strange. It's very unique, and it is effectively like Bronze Age Minecraft in Finland,
Yeah.
but in like top down tile format.
But your character is in like the top right corner, and the portrait is just like an actual picture of like a man
Yeah.
dressed up in the woods of Finland.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of like the like character portrait art for this game is just like the developers and their friends that had just like a photo shoot one day. But like yeah, like the thumbnail for this track is amazing because it's just like a guy with a spear encountering a shirtless dude with an axe in like in the Finnish taiga. That like yeah, I'm
Wow,
sign me up.
Scandinavia is truly an incredible place.
I have to read a couple bullet points here from the soundtrack because I think this just kind of underscores it. Uh, the enhanced Unreal World soundtrack brings you the game's music plus three selected spin-off songs along the way. Soundtrack features music composed and performed by the very devs themselves. Sami Marinen, the creator, and Erkka Umhus, the co-designer, between the period of 2013 through 2023. With all the tracks mainly played with authentic traditional instruments, including human voice, this is a primeval musical journey into the far north. The soundtrack ends with a 41-minute long shamanistic frame drum driven journey, which can also be looped and works nicely as an independent background music for many kind of meditative sessions.
They
I'll
don't make games
say
like this anymore, except when they do, because they've been making it for 30 years.
Yeah.
they don't start making games like this anymore, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck trying to
Uh,
pitch this to Microsoft or Xbox. Hey, can you make a strange Finnish survival game with weird tribal chants and jaw harp music? AAA budget right there.
Still $11 on Steam.
I mean, the game Unreal World on Steam goes on sale for like $2 every so often, but I saw that the soundtrack go on sale. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get it. I listened to the whole 41-minute song bit, and it's as great as you think it would be for like tribal drums and like weird forest chanting.
Oh, sure. No, I certainly am aware of that appeal. When I was on the 70,000 tons of metal cruise this year, at the beginning of the year, I went to this one set, which was not a Finnish folk metal band, but a band from Estonia called Metastole, and they were performing. I think it's their first album, like in full. And there are big sections of that album which are there's no electric guitars. It's all traditional analog instruments, grandpa's guitars and wooden objects and stuff like that. And there is a certain vibe, a certain atmosphere that type of music can set, and it really transports you to a different state of mind, dare I say it. 40 minutes though. When does that play during the game?
I don't think it's in the game. I think it's just like
it's just a bonus track, right?
Yeah, okay, I think it's a bonus track for the soundtrack, which
they had to fill out the CD.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that was probably the principal draw for me anyway, but yeah, definitely worth checking out the soundtrack for that. Well, as we leave Finland, we go right back into Finland for another Finnish soundtrack to a non-traditional roguelike game. This is Beat of the Kosmos from Noita. You're listening to Beat of the Kosmos from Noita, previous episode. And yeah, as soon as I had put in the Unreal World Finnish music, I'm like, you know what, we gotta have another Finnish tune in here as well. And I remember on our episode,
another one that includes the jaw harp as well.
Yes, crucially.
Hell yeah! Give me that boing boing boing.
And gosh, what a tune that really kind of sets the mood for a weirdly chaotic and mystical. I think the beat of the Kosmos with a K here is just, yes, that's exactly what we're looking for. We mentioned it in our Noita episode, the in theory 3-part documentary on the making of the music behind this game, where soundtrack here is done by the Finnish folk psychedelic funk band from Grotto, and they say it's a 3-part series, but there's only 2 parts available on YouTube. I don't know when the 3rd part's coming out.
Well, yeah, I believe we mentioned that in our episode, and sorry to tell you, listeners, the 3rd entry has not appeared yet, unfortunately. Now, as I just mentioned, used to listen to a lot of Finnish folk metal, but this is less a fusion of folk and metal and more of a fusion of folk and like surfer music. Like at times it sounded like
Finnish folk funk.
I was ready to, catch a wave, what have you. Of course, Noita what a game, what a time. As I mentioned, I think several episodes ago, I spent quite a bit more time with Noita after we covered it, and it's a trip, and that includes the soundtrack.
Yeah, you went back and beat it, didn't you?
Well, no,
Can one beat
unfortunately.
Noita? Really?
I have made it. I've made it to the regular final boss, the first final boss, if you will, twice, and I'm telling you, like 1% health left. I had him down to 1%. Like there was barely anything left in that health bar, and I got. And then the first time I fought him, I teleported myself into lava on accident. And so, yeah, definitely a chaotic cosmic situation for sure.
You got noited is what
I got noited.
I got no idea what you're talking about.
That's a-okay. Anyway, so yeah, what a deal. What a deal from Grotto.
Yeah, and I think in that
what characters?
that documentary is just, it's so emblematic of like the style of the music, where I believe they said it like it was largely improvised, which what better way for a rogue
I believe it
style game.
Oh, good point. Yeah, and very on brand for sure.
Well, this next track needs no introduction, so I'll just ask you to stay a while and listen. You are staying a while and listening to Tristram Village from Diablo 1, 1997. And boy, yeah, that intro chord there on the guitar just kind of, you know exactly where you are when you hear that, I feel like.
Yeah,
I
truly.
Because I never played Diablo 1.
Oh.
Well, you know where you are from Diablo 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for going with us on that one, Colin. Excellent. Yeah, but I mean, in Diablo 2, isn't the soundtrack when you go to Tristram the same song?
It's pretty much. It's very similar. It's the same. It's got the same like
music
melody.
I mean, right? Yeah. Thank you. First of all, for a period of time, this was the hold music if you called Blizzard. Secondly, Diablo was the first game I can remember hearing about that was randomized. My buddy, and like this was like in elementary school, he was telling me, "Yo, there's this game Diablo. I've been playing it at my dad's place because, of course, you know his parents were divorced, so he only had the cool gaming computer at one of the houses. And I've been playing this game, and you wanted this this dang darkest dungeon, dungeon, and all this crazy shit's going on. There's gore and blood everywhere. You got to fight this guy called the Butcher. He's got a giant butcher blade. There's all these corpses hanging everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so intense. And then, you know, the other big point that he made when he was describing this game to me is that, and depending on when you play it, the levels are different. Because, of course, the RNG for generating the map is based off of the date in the computer's calendar.
I didn't know that.
And that kind of blew my mind. Like, not only are you going to this, like, horrific hellscape to go do battle with the forces of evil, but also the labyrinth is different every time you enter it. Oh, incredible. And for some reason, like, he didn't bother at any point explaining this. He didn't bother mentioning it was an isometric game, or even bothering, you know, to describe what the actual, like, graphics were like. And in my brain, I just assumed, like, well, I was playing, like, Tomb Raider at the time on my computer, so it was like, oh yeah, it must be like fully 3D, like low poly baloney. And then anyway, when I finally got around to playing it, obviously I knew better. But I played Diablo 1 after I played StarCraft. And even at the time, installing Diablo, I thought, yo, this is an old game. Yo, this is a tiny game. Because it installed like that, like nothing. Like it was it was over in a flash. Anyway, I played a bit of it recently, and I don't think it's just the rose-colored glasses, which are an item in the game. Great loot table in Diablo. I don't think it's just the rose-colored glasses. I think it holds up. I'm pretty sure it holds up.
Yeah, I mean, like Diablo 2, like unquestionable 10 out of 10 game. And people, again,
played a lot of Diablo 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if my mom would have let me buy in 1997 a game called Diablo that with a guy called the Butcher and lots of blood and gore and quotes.
Oh, no, don't worry, Mom. There's a kindly old man who's like the, you know, kind of the head of the town, and he hangs out and he presides over, and he's a nice guy. He only charges you 100 gold pieces to tell you what your items are.
Yeah, I think I bought Diablo 2 with my own money.
Well, I remember hearing about Diablo 1 from my very religious Christian friend who lived down the street from me, who was like, you got it felt like very taboo for him to be like playing and like showing off. He's like, you got to check this game out. My dad doesn't know that I'm playing it, but it's called Diablo, and it looked like at the time the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I was like, I don't know that I should be looking at this.
Diablo 1 is the path to the devil and away from Christ.
But it feels like it has like a very pro-Christian message to it, because you're beating up the demons.
Precisely.
You are
casting spells though. That's not very Christian.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Not me. I only play as warrior.
Of course. You wouldn't dare even look at a scroll of spark.
I can't read.
Or you wouldn't even dare attempt to understand what's on that magical fireball scroll.
I give it to the old man who knows how to read.
I think the game has both. Anyway, yeah, well, the actual music, great hub music. I mean, come on, it's 5 minutes of like varied, interesting composition that, like, of course, you know, they're working with the core melody and kind of sound, but they're doing all sorts of interesting stuff. There's that mysterious whistle that plays. I love the mysterious whistle. Bling, 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 bling. Doo, bling, bling, bling. Incredible. And then, you know, both the main instruments get a solo section. The oboe gets to shine. The guitar goes crazy towards the end. Love it.
Yeah, if the YouTube comments are to be believed, and 90% of the time they're not, this comes to us from Blizzard sound genius Matt Uleman, who at the time I think was maybe 22 or 23 when making this, which is like mind blowing. Because if again if the internet's to be believed, the only other game that he worked on prior to this was Justice League Task Force for 1995 Sega Genesis. And then went on to do the music for Diablo, sound design for StarCraft, music for Diablo 2, music for World of Warcraft: The Burning Crusade, Torchlight, Diablo 3, all of the expansions for Diablo 3, Torchlight 3, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Like, yeah, I mean, he could have just stopped at Diablo and StarCraft, and it would have been like, all right, crown him. The royalties here.
Yeah. So it sounds like he's probably the guy to ask. I've been known to sometimes ask people working at Blizzard booths if they could tell me what the weird there's a piece of sound design where when you click on the Terran building, the academy, where all of the like ghosts go to train the psychic warriors, and presumably it's a very intense training regimen, because when you click on it, there's like a little marching band sound. It's like burr, 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 and then you hear this blood-curdling scream. Which my understanding is that's from like a famous sound pack of some kind, so it's like not like Blizzard invented it, but I've been known to ask Blizzard employees like, now what's going on there? Are they torturing the students? Is that some kind of like intense gene therapy? I need to maybe try to track down this fellow and send him an email and ask what the lore is behind the Academy soundtrack. But hey, now here I am talking about a totally different game. Sorry to take us so far afield.
Well, importantly, I mean, like, we've all been there in your final exams and you're just kind of like looking up and like screaming into the sky. I think, I believe that is the Howie scream, not to be confused with the Wilhelm scream.
Oh!
The Howie Long scream that I believe comes from the 1980 film The Ninth Configuration. So former NFL player Howie Long might give us that. But yeah, I think it's just like a canned scream sound effect that they use. And then got the license to, and then we're just like
100%. Yep, that's the one. I remember hearing it also in the John Waters film Serial Mom. Importantly, I'll send y'all that clip later.
Lots of stim packs in that one, I'm sure. So you might, again, people slamming their brakes on the highway. Oh my God, this podcast on roguelike and roguelite, or whatever we call these games, dipping in to action RPG real-time games, don't belong here. Well, we're here to correct you, gentle and wise listener, in that Diablo 1, originally a fork from the legendary early 90s traditional roguelike freeware shareware game Angband, that the people at Blizzard were like, you know, what if instead of like turn-based and like bad, we made this good? And we have Diablo and its legacy as a result. Literally like kicking the ball on getting started with the action RPG genre. Like, I don't think it existed before this. So we have them to thank for that. But yeah, I think like love this tune. The intro guitar theme from Dwarf Fortress sounds very inspired from this.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminded me a lot of Dwarf Fortress, which feels weird because I'm sure that it's really that Dwarf Fortress reminds me of this.
Right.
But
yeah,
I've heard Dwarf Fortress more recently.
And very, I had to go back in my Google Doc and take a note down of Led Zeppelin album number 4 vibes. A very like twangy but like mysterious and foreboding fantasy guitar, acoustic guitar, which was playing in the lunchroom the other day for me. I'm like, yeah, this does sound like Diablo music, doesn't it?
Here you have it.
All right, up next on our playlist tonight is another folksy kind of whimsical music track coming to us from the game Shogun Showdown. This is Hibiku Wastelands. You're listening to Hibiku Wastelands from the side-scrolling, I guess, one-dimensional deck builder ninja fighting roguelike game Shogun Showdown, composed by Oscar Di Mangdomelo. A game that I've been lobbying Will to play relentlessly. That I think he took one look at and was like, I don't know. But wow, yeah, I think the soundtrack for this game is really good, and I want to say that like basically this whole game is a solo dev effort outside.
Yeah, it's a really good soundtrack. Did you know this, fellas? It's actually all 8-bit.
Is it?
Not at all. That's what the wiki says, though, and that can't possibly be correct. That's obviously totally wrong. Wow, they're doing some tech wizardry to get that metal guitar there, that heavy metal sound there in the end. No, I don't know where they're getting that. Surely there's some 8-bit components, but hey, that sounds mighty fine. I was trying to look this up while it was playing. What is that iconic string instrument sound that is featured in so much samurai media? Does anyone know off the top of their
mandolin.
head? Or maybe some kind of mandolin?
No, that's wrong.
A subset, but it sounds like Oscar Di Mondomello knows a thing or two about it. Yeah, quite intriguing. And I do appreciate that there is that sort of like uptick in energy at like the the 2.5 minute mark.
I was just about to say, all right, maybe time to like fade it out, and then the metal.
Right, and then the guitars.
All right, I guess we gotta keep listening.
I guess we gotta keep listening. Which I can imagine, actually playing the game is actually rather exciting. You're sitting there because I believe this is a turn-based combat game. You're considering your move, and then suddenly the energy really kind of pitches up as the new instrument is introduced. Sounds groovy.
Yeah, this is very much a ninja combat game where like, what if Into the Breach, but in a single filed line, and it's like half of almost like a flowing like ninja combat dancing simulator in a way. It's really cool. Like it's
ninja
a game
or samurai.
Ninja. Well, I feel like you're fighting samurai. I don't know. Like,
Okay. I assume that, hey, most video games, if you got a samurai, a ninja is also going to show up at some point. So fair to assume both. I did a school project when I was a wee lad on the history of samurai, and my board, my little standee display that I was presenting at it wasn't a science fair, but like, I guess, history fair. I don't know. It featured a lot of great photographs and everything. My dad got me in touch with a samurai historical expert that I got to speak with on the phone. And of course, my favorite part of my whole display for this topic was the inclusion of some Lego samurai figures. Tastefully assorted in a little action scene, which I cannot believe anybody let me bring into my middle school. Ridiculous, absurd. And all that to say, I love the theme, love the soundtrack, and but I'm sure the gameplay would be too much of a bonehead to understand.
I mean, I feel like Into the Breach has kind of like a lot going on to it. You would think like simplifying that down to just a one-dimensional plane would be like very reductionist, but it's actually like still very crunchy, but not overwhelmingly so. It feels very well balanced in that regard.
Interesting. All right, and just from like a raw thematic standpoint, I mean the one lane one-on-one samurai duel is very appropriate, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Well, the transition of folk to metal from Shogun Showdown continues with our soundtrack for this evening, where we're transitioning more into some metal tunes with revisiting a previous episode here. This next track is Sakura Pink Inferno from AK-xolotl. You're listening to Sakura Pink Inferno from previous episode of the podcast on here. AK-xolotl, not AK-47, AK-xolotl.
AK-xolotl is probably, I think, the best way to describe it, to say it, I should say.
Coming to us from composer Jose Mora, who's done a few other games under his belt.
Jose Mora, I'd like to hear more of that. You get the idea. Anyway, Mora, his music. Yeah, so as I mentioned during our AK-xolotl episode, I'd be playing AK-xolotl, I'd be listening to a podcast, or I'd be listening to my own music. Every time I got to this level with this track, I would mute whatever I was listening to and listen to the in-game music. Too good. Love it. Short, sweet, but in that 1.5 minute period, there's like tons of progression. That synth in the middle there just keeps going up until it hits those high notes, and a beautiful melody, beautiful progression, and then at the end you get some nice guitar riffs.
It does have like a lot of really good like symphonic metal inspiration to it. And the last time when we covered Axolotl for the podcast, it was like late November 2023, and I'm looking through like the patch notes from then. It's just like a ton of content has been added.
I believe my recollection of our episode is that we were naysayers.
Like it.
Well, there was that, but also like we were looking at their roadmap and we were scoffing. I feel like we weren't super rude, but I think the implication, we were implying that they're not going to do any of this stuff. They're not going to stick with this game. They kicked it out the door, and it's good enough. Moving on. To their credit, they have stuck with it. I have gone back, I've played this game, and it is much improved. And there's a bunch more content. And I think they've really turned it into a game that, is maybe not worth revisiting with an entire new episode, but I think it's definitely worth revisiting for players. It's pretty impressive, and I've even gone so far as to like play some of the optional modes, which I thought was pretty engaging. They fixed a lot of our complaints, and they added a whole lot of stuff, including like brand new biomes and brand new bosses. And but they kept this song, my favorite song in the game.
Well, the metal train continues as we visit our last traditional roguelike of the playlist this evening. This next one here is Storm of the Formorians from Quasimorph. You're listening to Storm of the Formorians, or Flauros Phase 3 from the traditional roguelike game Quasimorph. This is a game that I think released in early access to kind of like mixed reviews. Importantly composed by Yevgeny Zurifsky. And I think Quasimorph kind of like released to kind of like meh to middling reviews, and has like crawled its way back up into relevance of like, wow, actually, like this is like kind of dope. If I had to describe it, it'd be kind of like a single player XCOM like extraction shooter. And like the title theme here or not title theme, but the theme that we're playing here is like there are these like mutated like monster / eldritch horror gods throughout the solar system, where different planets have like different like gosh, what is it, like mythological like monsters that I think evolve throughout the course of your playthrough. And I think this is like the most evolved version of the monster Flauros, who I think is like a Sumerian themed like eldritch god, but like other planets have ones from like Greek mythology and like ancient Arabic mythology and other things like that. It's like it's very unique in that regard. Plays interesting. Lots of like heal your broken bones with like this like dirty bandage you fell on the floor while like extracting out of the, or like either doing a mission in this spaceship here or assaulting this space station. And very interestingly, you can choose to either take on the contract of the faction that's doing like a defensive operation, or you can be on the faction that's doing the offensive. Which is neat.
It's a game that I've considered picking, and it's definitely still on my list of games I would consider choosing for the podcast.
I liked, as we were listening to that very intense, very metal song, the image that was up, just kind of like hanging out. What in the bottom left was just stock exchange. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to that. Yeah, that's some good stock trading music.
Gotta look at my stonks, turn the music. What a lot of fun like little details in that. Obviously, you know, like rockin' guitar riffs, cool, interesting progression. But then also just some nice little flourishes, little details, use of sound effects, kind of fun.
I do like the knife sharpening sound, like
yeah, I noticed that too. That was
So those nice little touches like that. There was a sound effect that really kind of the track lost me when at about the 3-minute mark. I don't know if the listeners are actually going to hear that, but at the 3-minute mark, there is like some kind of mechanical sound. What was that? It sounded like a 2-stroke like engine, like trying to start. It sounded like a weed whacker.
You're not thinking of like the double bass kick drum.
No, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Excuse me. Stop the podcast.
Andrew, do you know what drums sound like?
Do I know what a double bass like metal drum setup is? I assure you that is playing, of course, throughout the track. Whereas the sound effect that I'm referring to is at the 3-minute mark specifically.
Where was it?
Are you sure it's not the blast beats, Andrew? Yeah, I'm sure.
Now this is a call to guitar. It makes this twangy sound.
I appreciate that. Now we didn't quite the guitar the drum work was very nice. I should add. We didn't quite get to like full like death metal like, but like there were little bits of that sprinkled throughout, which I appreciate. So anyway, I'm gonna have to play the game to figure out what that 2-stroke engine startup sound is.
Well, up next we're gonna continue our more kind of like hero metal theme of metalism with a very aptly titled Metal Hero from Roboquest. You're listening to Metal Hero from Roboquest, composed by a notable music artist Noise Scream, who has composed for a couple other games. Notably, My Friend Pedro, I think, is one of them. I think of like a banana shooting action game. But this is one of your classic cases of like this game being just like an absolute awesome title theme to this game where you are just a yellow mechanical robot man. Well, there's other classes, but yeah, you are mechanical robot man helping small teenage girl in the desert fight through to the end for stuff. And this game plays super well. This is one that I have like on my titular like Andrew must playlist of like like almost kind of like Doom Infinite style FPS, just like really fast flowy action shooting to it. Great soundtrack. And one of those games.
I will say that the sound doesn't look quite like it matches the visual aesthetic. The visual aesthetic is a little cartoony. I was surprised when I looked it up and I saw the graphics for it. I expected it to be darker, grittier. Maybe more like actual like Doom.
It feels very colorful and almost like Borderlands-y, but not in an annoying way.
It's like Borderlands a little bit, but then Doom gameplay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Also, you said there was noise scream. I think it looks like noise cream to me.
We all scream for Noise Scream.
Naturally. This is another. You're absolutely on the right track there, Scott. Your intuition is absolutely correct, because this is another game that's on my list of show games. I mean, this is just another reason for me to play it. I didn't realize that it had such a groovy soundtrack. Groovy's not the right. We're not literally groovy. There's not some kind of like bass groove going on. But obviously, you got that metal influence. Very clearly, that track that we just listened to fits into for me into the dark synth genre, which is definitely obviously takes cues from heavy metal. Yeah, it definitely brought to mind like Carpenter Brute, Perturbator, those sorts of artists. And which of course all people will know from Hotline Miami, the Hotline Miami soundtrack. Cool. Yeah, I agree though. While we were just talking, I agree that it feels like a little bit of a mismatch to the game's visuals. But hey, I listen to dark synth regardless of what activity I'm doing, so I mean that's not too much of a stretch for me personally.
All right, up next is a game where soundtrack is the game and the game is the soundtrack. Up next is Mausoleum Mash from Crypt of the Necrodancer. You're listening to Mausoleum Mash from Crypt of the Necrodancer, composed by one Danny Baranowski, who you might remember from Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, Cave Story, Cortex Command, Nuclear Throne, Desktop Dungeons, Glitter Mitten Grove, Cadence of Hyrule and Rift of the Necrodancer. Yeah, I mean, just every time that I boot up this game. Oh, and this Crypt of the Necrodancer just had its 10-year anniversary not too long ago, which got me to fire it up again and be like, oh yeah, like this
I didn't
game's
realize
pretty
it was that
rockin'.
old.
I know. Yeah,
it's been around.
that means it's a traditional roguelike now because it's so old. But
A traditional roguelike.
yeah, exactly. There's a DDR machine at my office, and as all tech offices do, and I thought multiple times of like, how can I hook up my Steam Deck in such a way to play Crypt of the Necrodancer on that thing? I'm sure there's a way. Someone has figured it out. But yeah, this is definitely a game. I every time I fire it up, this is I think the title theme and stage World 1 Stage 3 theme as well. And every time I boot it up, I just like sit there and just like listen to that intro bass line for like at least a minute. It's like, oh, so good. It just
I assume we're gonna cover this game at some point. It's kind of a what is the phrase you always use, Scott? A definite stay tuned.
Stay tuned and a half. Yeah.
Stay tuned and a half, folks. We're upgrading it from one stay tuned to
Stay
one
tuned
and a
in
half.
3/4.
My God. Yeah. Ooh, even. Well, I know it's an inevitability, and I'm so worried that we're gonna get to that episode, and I'm gonna be the negative Nancy. I won't get into it, but like I booted the game up again and was like, yo, I'm enjoying this infinitely less than I remember.
Whoa.
What is going on? What's wrong with me? Because yeah, the soundtrack is bumping for sure, and it is. I mean, is it too far to call it? It's a classic of sorts. It's a classic rhythm game at this point, I feel like. And yet I had not a great experience reinstalling it. Hopefully that was just a total weird, out of left field, atypical thing, and will not happen again. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always the Bard mode where you can just play in just pure straight up turn-based mode and won't have to worry about the beat at all. Should you so desire.
So that's just beard scratch mode?
Indeed, yeah. Which kind of defeats the whole conceit of the game, you would think.
Yeah.
Sure, but hey, what accommodating devs to put in such an option.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very tempted to mix in. Well, I guess if you're listening to this, you'll determine whether or not if I actually have mix in the shopkeeper singing in tune with the music.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, and I thought, nah, save it for the episode. Yeah, famously, the shopkeep sings along with the soundtrack, and not only is that fun and cool and sounds neat, like it's a boon to the soundtrack. It also like is a hint in the game, like, hey, come this way. You can hear the shopkeep. I know that I'm close to the shop, and you can
siren songs.
The siren song of the shopkeep, and he has a beautiful voice.
Well, coming back to our sort of dark synth angle here, is dark synthwave question mark. Up next is Solo Nobre Must Fall, the theme from Brigador. listening to Solo Nobre Must Fall, the main theme from Brigador. And I feel like, this was composed notably by Makeup and Vanity Set, also known as Matthew Pusley.
Another, no. It's another classic duo, just like Toejam and Earl. I am learning just now that Makeup and Vanity Set is not two people. And I'm kind of shocked, honestly. But yeah, of course, Makeup and Vanity Set, incredible, great, a mainstay of the dark synth genre. One of the big, I don't know, 5. I'm not quoting that, but I would assume they got to be like the top 5 for that genre. And they're out here, they're doing so much work. They're doing soundtracks for podcasts, they're doing soundtracks for video games. They're doing soundtracks for presumably some film, I would think.
Yeah, kind of all over the place. And I remember like noodling around in this game or something, and then I think Andrew, you poked in and were like, "Hey, wait a minute, isn't that like Makeup and Vanity Set? Have you gone to one of their concerts in person? I forget."
Sadly, not.
Okay.
I have not. I don't know how active he is that correct?
Matthew Pusley, based out of Nashville.
Based out of Nashville. I don't know how often Matthew is hitting the road and touring, but definitely I'm on the lookout for that, for sure. I've been to some other big dark synth shows, but never Makeup and Vanity Set. And yeah, Brigador is an interesting game. Also would like to cover it at some point.
Yeah, I've added it to the potential future games list. I remember Scott made us listen to the music from it at some point before.
Forced us.
Made us. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. This game looks cool. We should play it. And then immediately forgot that it existed until this moment.
And that is the curse of Brigador, Colin. Famously, no one can remember the name of this game.
Yeah.
Colin, you should dive deep into the multi audiobook series they have on the lore behind the game, and deep dives of production.
Which, for reference, for those of you who have never heard of this game or did hear about the game but then forgot the name of the game, it is a mech warrior type situation.
I still listen to the Mech Warrior 2 soundtrack from 1997. That shit slaps. That's so good. I need to make you guys listen to it so you can tell me if it's good or just nostalgia. But I'm pretty sure it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I listen to the entire soundtrack for Brigador on a constant loop while I'm coding at work, and it is so perfect for what the game is. I'm not entirely convinced that Brigador is a roguelike or light in most respects. There's some kind of modes that you can make it do that. And yeah, I feel like from Andrew's perspective of being a negative Nancy coming back to the game, I'm like, man, I hope it's aged better since the first time I played it. It's so close to being the perfect game for me, where I have some bullet points in my Google Doc here describing it as John Carpenter's StarCraft, just from the gritty aesthetic and the music and all that. The devs were supposed to have a demo for their Brigador 2 called Brigador Killers. That was supposed to be out this latest, I think, spring or summer Steam Next Fest demo festival. They didn't make it in time, so they're targeting this upcoming winter 2025 for showcasing that. And I have high hopes because that game has been in development hell for so long, and Brigador 1 is such a strong game with such interesting and unique design choices for how you lob shots over buildings and things like that. Just the art style, everything about it is so interesting. One of the Steam reviews I had to write down here is about Brigador says it's Space Banana Company wants to reclaim Space Cuba after the death of Space Fidel Castro. So if that gives you any indication of what you're in for there. But up next for continuing some dark synthwave aesthetic here, as well as some mercenary action, will be the track Hypernoma from Synthetik. You're listening to the track Hypernoma from Synthetik, Legion Rising, I guess Synthetik 1, composed by Effie Tozan, among others, listed on the credits for the soundtrack. This game is super dope. This game is like the one game that I love playing but have to stop because I get really bad headaches while playing it. Where I'm sure there's a toggle for this somewhere where like
anti-seizure mode.
It's like the combination of like flashing and like loud like banging sound effects and stuff that like is very effective in the game. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just like a certain time of day that I usually wind up playing it, but like
2:30 in the morning.
And like the synth soundtrack is like blasting nonstop.
The city is asleep, but you are awake.
This game has a really fun, like old, like it's a very clean design aesthetic, but also it feels like simultaneously like very modern and also very like 80s action arcade classic.
Indeed, and Synthetik, critically spelled with a K, very important, is a, like Brigador, top-down shooter situation, and it looks like something out of the 90s, but because it's a modern game, like, they didn't have to downscale the graphics so much, and so it's, like, crisp, not pixelated, but still two-dimensional presentation, and just like that track, which is, you know, very Blade, very The Matrix. That driving beat is just relentless.
It feels like
gameplay
early high school. Like, yeah, I learned about the concept of electric music.
But in the best way.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, deep nostalgia.
There's so for my cycling workouts, one of them that I do is called an FTP test, a functional threshold power test, where like every minute the power threshold like goes higher and higher and higher and higher until like your legs give out, like you can't push any longer. This is on that cycling workout playlist for me because it is like the most focusing, like in the zone, just like punch it music that I have, like this among other ones. But it is so good. And then like like the gameplay in Synthetik is also like very interesting, where like you would like a lot of games have like active reload mechanics that are super annoying, but this one like feels very necessary and like not like it's trying to be like very simulationist with like gunplay of like, oh, I got to make sure to like have all the mags with all the right ammo and stuff, but like it does a good job of balancing that with like arcadey shoot 'em action. And a lot of like good tactical decision making and robots, and like there's robots hunting you from like different timelines and like phasing in and out of like spatial dimensions and stuff, and it has everything you need, including like a very Mercs arcade game style Harrier jet that's just like parked on the top of the screen, moving back and forth, shooting at you. So what more could you ask for?
I will absolutely be reinstalling this game.
There's like a free to play, I don't know if it's like a prologue specifically, but it's called Synthetik Arena. That's a free to play version that if you're like, maybe I'll give it a shot, like it's basically all the same gameplay but a very tuned down version. And Synthetik 2, the sequel to this game, that is all 3D assets instead of like the 2D sprite work, I think is just starting to get its robotic legs under itself. Had kind of a rocky early access period, but is just starting to kind of turn that curve. I think that's another game along with Quasimorph that once it hits 1.0, like, yeah, there'll be some good stuff there. But Synthetik 1, quite a good experience if you can find that, like, turn down the white flashing button. And up next on our techno part of the evening is probably, gosh, I don't know, like really the hero journey of music and indie game dev. Up next is Ace from the game Crab Champions. You're listening to Ace, the song from maybe a question mark April Fool's joke game, Crab Champions. That is composed by one Noise Storm, who is an EDM producer and whose music is fairly well known from mid 2010s. You might remember him from the YouTube music video Crab Rave, which also released on April 1st, 2018, that has like, I don't know, like 300 million views on YouTube or something crazy. And yeah, so I...
Brilliant marketing for like playing the long con. I want to put out an indie game. What do I do first? Oh, viral video of crabs dancing on, having a rave on the beach.
Yeah, well, long con indeed, because Noise Storm, being an Irish DJ and music producer for years and years beforehand, noodling around with Unreal Engine and was like, oh yeah, I'll put together this, I don't know, this crab rave video. And then like that wound up like peaking at number 14 on Billboard's dance/electronic song chart.
Wow.
And then like I guess the royalties from that just like catapulted him to be like, all right, well now I have enough like funds banked up, I can actually
make a crab-based video game.
Yeah, like as we all do, we all have that
living the dream.
I'm using my viral video proceeds to fund my crab-based video game obsession.
And you would think that, so April 1st, 2023, Crab Champions releases in early access. And you would think that a game released on April 1st with like crab-based like Nuclear Throne or Enter the Gungeon style like gameplay would just be like, that's a funny joke. It's I think, at least in terms of like, there's many ways to rank video games and how good they are by various metrics. SteamDB has a pretty good one that I like. And if you sort by like all of the different like rogue genres on SteamDB, Crab Champions is like in the top 10 of all rogue games on Steam in terms of like of rating.
Yeah, when are we gonna play it?
Well, maybe if
maybe next April.
Yeah, maybe next April 1st.
Yeah. We'll announce ahead of time. Hey, Will's actually going to be on this episode. April Fools.
Or even better, we'll tell Will, oh yeah, we're ready to play Slay the Spire 2, and then rug pull, it's Crab Champions, and it's only him on the podcast, and he has to do all
got him. Now I kid our wonderful co-host. He should be back soon.
All right, up next is a very weird and popular song/game, a very highly listener requested game for us to play. Up next is the theme song from Library of Ruina, String Theocracy.
Open the curtains, lights on. Don't miss a moment of this experiment. Oh, the book is strange, like clockwork orange. Keep your eyes buttered till the end. Which you are going to be. Inside the mirror, do you see someone else in the body? Transforming Monsters I for my discovery. What's the color of the electric ship you see? And if you love me, can you love your everything too for me?
That is Library of Ruina's theme song, String Theocracy, by the very, I guess, the famous Japanese indie music group, Millie, that is another kind of like, it's kind of baffling to me that like these weird indie games that we cover here on the podcast can like somehow like harangue these like super top tier like pop groups to like compose their music for them. This one, yeah, what is it like 19 million views on YouTube for just the theme song to this game. Library of Ruina, definitely a weird one that is I think it's tied I think for second or first for our most listener requested game. That I don't think Will would touch with a 10-foot pole.
I tried to look like so far while we've been doing this, I've been looking up gameplay for each game that we've been covering, and I don't understand what I'm looking at when I'm trying to look at gameplay. I mean, I'm sure it's good. It's just like there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's like emotion level. There's like 6 people on screen, and they're like shooting beams and a weird pattern, and then you're like a light novel section. Like, what is happening?
It is, well, it's the game itself is a direct sequel to another game that I think is like vaguely roguey called Lobotomy Corporation, which is like an eldritch horror colony sim, like SCP style monster management simulator. And like just the fact that I could say those words and then have a game be like a follow-up sequel to it is baffling. But this is like, it's a deck builder game that has, I believe, like there's a strong story element to it in a way that like World of Horror was designed, previous episode World of Horror. So like you have like story elements that are kind of like randomly dispersed throughout based on your actions or whatever. And there's like a very like unique card deck building system. As Will is like learning and studying like all these like deck building systems for his game, like this one has like a very like play almost like a stage setup, and there's acts and scenes that are like kind of your initiative rolling system, and like you play your cards and the individual cards have action points. There's like attack, defense, special types as well, but there's like a stagger system, almost like a Sekiro or like a dark or like a Elden Ring style like stamina meter that like if you break their poise, then they can take like double damage type stuff. So there's all sorts of like weird systems and things going on that are like very interesting. Anime is not like my number one aesthetic for games, but like this one seems like well done enough that like yeah, I could definitely see why a lot of listeners are writing in for us to cover said game. And it is
Looking at I just stopped at a random point in a YouTube video, and it's like 2 little anime figures, like very cutesy. One of them has the words gut harvesting over the top, and the other one has the word time for a little test. It's like, what is happening in this game?
What a deal. Well, you know, what I've always loved about anime is that, you know, you can get really interesting, really wild, off the wall concepts that you would not see in regular film. And the same goes for, you know, you get wild concepts that you wouldn't see in regular games, apparently. Very interesting. First time hearing of this game. Yeah, we should definitely cover this at some point.
Well, in standard...
The listeners are right. I let it be known. I love our listeners, and they could not be more correct.
Indeed.
Sorry to cut you off.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, we somehow made it over 2 hours into this episode without a mention of our next game, and this next track is Battle with the Champ from, drum roll please, there's your free space on the bingo card for Grogpod, Slay the Spire. listening to Battle with the Champ from Slay the Spire. And depending on what boss you roll for Act 2, it could be the Champ, it could be the Bronze Automaton, or it could be the Collector. But this was brought to us by composer Clark Abood, and I always forget how good the soundtrack to this game is.
Yeah, I will say that I did feel like it was missing something. The various sounds of the hyper beams and the like. My brain says like this soundtrack is missing something. They need to add in the sounds of cards being played.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the jaw harp.
Yeah, and the jaw harp, of course.
And the jaw harp, obviously.
It can only make a song better.
Yeah, super cinematic. It's got that, movie score vibe. Like it's epic, and not in just the meme usage of the word. Definitely epic. Definitely feels like a proper cinematic boss battle.
Yeah, I think it's one of the first. We haven't listened to too many so far tonight that had like true orchestral score. We had a lot of synthy, dark synth, metal-y stuff, which is very cool for a lot of games. But it is always like, feels like it's taking cues from Hollywood more than like Doom.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know, this is still going on, but more so in my like teenage years, there was a lot of discussion as a gamer and like about games regarding like, oh, our games should games be taken seriously? Are they actual art? Can they be as entertaining as like a great film? And it's nice to
the answer is yes.
Right. And it's nice to hear like a game, especially an indie game, that, hey, this sounds like a film. This is great. This is outstanding.
Yeah, I think like anytime that I hear music from Slay the Spire, I'm immediately transported to moments where I'm like, oh, I remember playing that card at that time and just barely eking out a win and it feeling so good. And yeah, like I think that there's a reason why it's the number one game on our podcast rankings.
It does raise my stress level just like one tick, though. It's like, oh no, do I have the cards? Do I have it?
Oh
Calculate,
no, where's my fairy in the bottle?
Probabilities.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited. Like, what's our betting pool for whether or not if Slay the Spire 2 is actually going to get released in early access this year?
I have no idea.
Because at this point, the year's like more than half over.
Right. I have not been following it at all. The only updates I get are from Will, and Will seems convinced that it's going to release any day now.
Yeah.
Like literally, like he will reference like, all right, well, we're going to, I'm going to pick this game, assuming Slay the Spire 2 doesn't come out. Like, what are you talking about? What is the official word from the developers?
It'll be done when it's
any
done.
day now.
Well, why is the fan base thinking that it could be?
Because they want it.
They believe so hard that they have to. That it feels like there's a lot of copium being consumed in this fan base. I'm sorry to say.
I don't know how long it took for Slay the Spire 1 to get from like early development stages into early access, but I imagine like if something, and it's so hard for like a game that has like such like magnitude to it and like genre, like literally like genre defying like qualities. Like how do you follow that up? Like, I mean, Hades has Hades 2, which is very good. We'll see once it crosses the 1.0 threshold, like how big of shoes it could possibly fill. I almost feel like Slay the Spire 2 has bigger shoes to fill because like it's on so many platforms. It has such like this broad appeal. There hasn't been a Hades board game released yet, but yeah, I imagine like the developers are very cautious to make, okay, like we have one impression to make with early access and it better land and it better be damn good. Otherwise they're going to be crawling out of a hole like with Quasimorph or
they're going to be crawling up our spire to slay us.
Yes. But yeah, I think only good hopes. I think even if Slay the Spire 2 releases in early access and it's like basically the same game as Slay the Spire 1, like that would still be great. And it's just maybe more of a good thing. I have hopes for some kind of weird Metal Gear Solid 2 rug pull plot twist.
First person. So third over the shoulder third person action RPG.
Yeah, of course. I mean Who wouldn't expect
Baldur's Gate 3 style. You've got all four of them are your party members, and you're climbing up the tower.
Yeah, I thought it was weird how Slay the Spire 2 went into this strange anime turn with it being like a stage play and like all these eldritch horrors and stuff. But
Yeah.
it worked. It's what the listeners demanded. Well,
We shall see. Yeah, that's of course age-old problem. How do you follow up what is widely considered to be a masterpiece, widely considered by most people? And of course, Enter the Gungeon 2 is going to have the same problem. But
right,
anyway,
yeah.
well, obviously we know that Slay the Spire 2 is going to deliver in one department, and that is the music, because of course the composer is coming back.
Is he?
That's my understanding.
Oh, okay, good.
The hasty research I just did.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm the soundtrack for Slay the Spire 1 being so strong. Like and there's a lot of like very subtle motifs in there too that like you could bring back in very like subtle and creative ways for number 2. So, yeah, I think that'll be a good one. All right, well, I've kept my co-host here long enough, 2.5 hours by my phone stopwatch of us jamming out to video game music for the summer here.
Jamming even.
Yeah, toe jamming. We're Earlin', we're battling, and yeah, I think that'll give us some buffer time to actually get back into the nice swing of things. We have a brutal second half of the schedule lined up with so many deaths, so many runs, lots of massive titles coming down the pipe here for the second half of the program for this year, and assuming that Slay the Spire 2 doesn't just like shadow drop during one of those weeks of like huge games that we have planned to cover. But in the meantime, you can email us in with your stories of going to Blockbuster Video and renting Toejam and Earl, grogpodzone@gmail.com. We're on Mastodon, grogpod@gamedev.place. And I didn't set up a Blue Sky account, but there's like one of those weird like Blue Sky mirrors that like mirrors from like another system that like if you're on Blue Sky, you could see like all of my dumb Mastodon posts by just hunting for Grogpod on there. I didn't set it up, but it's there. I mean, yeah, another thing to manage. Anyway, grogpod.zone, the website with all the rankings and stuff. Oh yeah, we have to go through our extensive rankings of all of the music that we just listened to and rank each one. No, that's where you find like all the other shows and stuff that we've done. But yeah, it's time to wind out our summer music fest here. And so playing us out here actually will be an extra track here from a mystery game that Will has picked. I'm not going to include it in the show notes here as a little fun game for people to try to suss out what game is this from that Will has picked out for us. So stay tuned for our next episode where we will be playing us out with this one. But yeah, make sure to get some rest. It's been a hot summer. Get some rest, hint hint, and we'll see you out there in those new lands.